Today's episode is extra close to my heart because today, as I'm recording this, is Mother's Day. My kids are still asleep, and I sneak into my basement to record today's podcast episode in honor of Mother's Day. As the proud mom of two incredible human beings, one 16, navigating teenagehood with curiosity and lots of challenges for both of us, him and I. And my little one is almost 9, still in that magical age where hugs are frequent and giggles come easy. And being their mom has been the most challenging and at the same time, the most transformational, rewarding, and fulfilling role that I've had in my life. More than any promotion, any title, any accolade, anything. It has challenged me, it has stretched me, it has broke me open and rebuilt me. It has taught me so much. And is a job that doesn't have a job description, is a job that is challenging, that you don't know what you're doing and you're learning as you're going. And today I want to share 10 lessons that motherhood has taught me about love, identity, resilience, and what it truly means to grow. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. As we celebrate Mother's Day, I was thinking about, how can I do a podcast episode around Mother's Day? And in the past, I've done an episode where I talk about the skills that we acquire by just being moms. And today I started to reflect and I was journaling on what has motherhood taught me. And I was able to identify many things, but I'm going to share 10 with you today. And one thing that this resulted in was me writing a letter to my kids for Mother's Day, kind of expressing what this journey of motherhood has been for me, and write them a special message to each of them, because as I'm going to share in one of my lessons, they're very unique and different. So with no further ado, I want to share the 10 lessons that motherhood has taught me. Lesson number 1, you can't pour from an empty cup. Motherhood taught me that being everything to everyone doesn't work if I'm running in fumes. I learned that taking care of myself, whether it's moving my body, protecting my sleep, giving myself permission to rest, is not selfish. It's how I show up fully for my family. When I prioritize my own well-being, I parent with more patience and with more joy. I would say this one was a hard lesson to learn as a mom, especially on the early years, because when you are a mom and your kids are little, you get into this rhythm where everyone else's needs comes before yours. You start believing that motherhood equals self-sacrifice, that being exhausted, stretched thin, on the edge of burnout is just normal. And for a while, I wore that like a badge of honor. Look at me doing all the things, being everywhere, remembering everything, until one day I realized I was running on autopilot. I was present, but I wasn't really there. I was doing, but not really feeling. I was giving, but from a place of depletion. And the truth hit me. You can't pour from an empty cup. I had to unlearn the guilt around taking care of myself. And I'm not talking about bubble baths or spa days, although those can be nice. I'm talking about the daily consistent ways I had to show up for myself. Saying no to things that drain me, creating pockets of stillness in my day, moving my body, not to chase a number, but to feel strong and energized, nourishing myself with just not just food, but also with books and music and friendships and quiet time and all the things. And most of all, giving myself permission to rest, not just when everything was done, but when I deserved to rest, even if the to-do list wasn't finished. What I found is this: when I take care of myself, I parent differently. I show up more patient, I laugh more, I actually enjoy my kids more instead of just trying to manage them. I have the bandwidth to respond and not just react. And it models something powerful to them, that you don't have to run yourself rage to be worthy, that self-care isn't selfish, it's responsible. So now one of the things I say often is the more full I am, the more I can overflow. Overflow with love, with energy, with joy, with wisdom, with all the things. It starts with filling your own cup and letting that be the foundation for everything else. That's why I protect my morning routines and I wake up before my kids do. And that was, yes, a trade-off I made, but I'm a morning person, so it works for me. And starting the day, filling up my cup with movement, with inspiration, planning my day, like having a moment for myself has been a game changer. And I show up as a better version of myself when I do. And people can tell when I don't. Okay, moving on to lesson number 2. Presence beats perfection. I used to think I had to be the perfect mom, the always smiling, highly organized, healthy snack making version mom. But my kids don't need perfect. They need me, fully present. And this one was a tough one for me because for years I carried this pressure to get it all right, to be the mom who made, as I said, the balanced meals and stay patient 24/7 and keep the house in order and show up at every event and still crush it at work. I thought being a quote unquote good mom meant being constantly on top of things, organized, joyful, consistent, always saying and doing the right thing. And let me tell you, I was exhausted chasing that kind of perfection. But what I learned, often through tears and late night reflection, is that my kids don't need me to be perfect. They need me to be there. They need me to look up from my phone and really listen when they talk about their days. They need me to sit next to them on the couch without multitasking. They need me to be calm when they are falling apart, not because I've had every parenting book, but because I choose to stay with them through the messy middle. Some of the most meaningful moments are not planned. They happened in the in-between, driving to school, folding laundry together, staying up too late on a school night because someone needed to talk, or they were late finishing their homeworks. And when I mess up, and I do all the time, I've learned that repair matters more than perfection. Apologizing to my kids, owning my mistakes, telling them when I'm still learning too, because I am. Those are the things that build trust, that makes them feel safe. So if you're feeling the weight of never being enough, hear this. You don't have to do it all right. You just have to show up, not just physically, but emotionally, attentively, honestly, authentically. You might not always get it perfect, but if your child knows that they can count on you, you might not always get it perfect, and you won't. But if your child knows that they can count on you to really be there, to be human with them, to see them, you're doing more than enough. So take the pressure off. Your love, your attention, your consistent presence, that's the magic. That's what they'll remember. Lesson number 3, each child is their own universe. What works for one doesn't always work for the other. One of the most humbling things that I've learned as a mom is this: no two children are the same. Not even close. I remember when my daughter was born, I had this quiet expectation that I knew what I was doing this time around. After all, I've done the baby stage, the tantrums, the milestones, all the things. But it didn't take me long to realize that I was parenting a completely different little human being. That worked for one kid didn't work for the other. What motivated one discouraged the other. What smoothed one overstimulated the other. And that's when it hit me. Each child is their own universe. They come into this world and their own wiring, their own temperament, their own dreams, fears, love languages. They're just unique. And our job as parents is not to mold them into who we think they should be, but to meet them where they are, to pay attention, to get curious, to be students of them. With my older one, I've learned that deep conversation, independence, mutual respect are key. With my younger one, connection looks different. It's about play and stillness and closeness. One child needs space to think, the other one needs closeness to feel safe. And both are right. Both are whole. Both are exactly who they're meant to be. Learning this has made me more present and more compassionate as a mom, because when I stopped trying to parent from one-size-fits-all approach, I was able to see them more clearly and love them more fully for who they are, not who I expect them to be. Even though I have to say I am not perfect, and sometimes I set expectations for them, then they remind me that I'm doing that. And it makes me reflect and realize that I'm still learning, that I'm not the perfect mom, not that I aspire to be perfect, but it's a journey, right? It's a journey, because as parents, we want the best for our kids, and we have our own ideas of what best looks like. And I'm learning, especially with my 16-year-old, that maybe his vision is different, and I need to meet him where he is. And maybe most importantly, all of this taught me to let go of comparison. Not just comparing my children to each other, but comparing them to timelines and milestones and what other kids are doing, because their pace is the right pace. Their journey is their journey. So if you're in a season where you feel like you're trying everything and nothing is working, this is my tip. Just pause and ask, what does my child need? Who are they becoming? Parenting becomes less about control and more about companionship when we honor that each of our children is a universe in themselves, and we are learning to explore it. And that has been a gift for me, even though it has been challenging at the same time, but it's been an absolute gift. Lesson number 4, control is an illusion. This one took me a while to learn, and honestly, I'm still learning it. As moms, we want to control things. It feels like love. We want to keep our kids safe. We want to shape their experiences. We want for them to make good choices, to avoid their pain, for them to be happy. So we plan, we manage, we guide, we remind, we hover over when we don't mean it. And it comes from a good place. It comes from love. But the truth is, the more I try to control every outcome, every emotion, every detail, the more disconnected that I feel from my kids and from myself. Because here's the hard truth. Our job is not to control their path, it's to support them as they find it. Our job is not to make their world perfect, but to equip them with the resilience and the confidence and the tools to navigate an imperfect world. I've learned to lose my grip, to let them struggle a little, to trust their process even when I don't understand it, to make decisions I wouldn't make, to let my 8-year-old express big emotions without rushing to fix them. And it's hard, but it's also liberating. Because when we let go of control, we open the door to connection. We create space for our kids to grow, to develop their self-trust, to make mistakes and learn who they really are. And we can create space for us too, to breathe, to observe, to be present without trying to script the outcome. Control might feel safe in the short term, but in the long term, it shortcuts growth. for them and for us. So now instead of asking, how can I control this? I ask, how can I hold space for this? How can I show up with love and guidance, but also with humility and trust? Because that's where the magic lives, not in control, but in connection. Lesson number 5, your kid doesn't need a perfect mom. They need a human one. I've cried in front of my kids. I've messed up. I've apologized. I've owned when I was too harsh, too distracted, or too tired. And you know what? Those moments have built more trust than any perfect parenting ever could. They're not looking for superheroes. They're looking for truth tellers. And the best thing I can do is to role model emotional honesty for them. I have to confess that this was a big turning point for me, not just as a mother, but as a human being, as a woman. There was a time I thought I had to be all at one time. Patient, composed, productive, nurturing, organizing, inspiring. Like I had to be some kind of walking Pinterest board with a full emotional toolkit and a perfect meal plan. But over time, and definitely through some trial and error, I realized something really important. What my kids most need, it's not perfection. It's my presence, my honesty, and my humanity. They need to see me make mistakes and own them. They need to see me tired and still choose love. They need to hear me say, I'm sorry, I don't know, or I'm working on it too. They need to watch me navigate life, not perform it. Because when I show up as a real human being, I give them permission to do the same. I remember one afternoon, I completely lost my patience. I snapped loudly and immediately felt that wave of guilt like wash over me. I couldn't shut down or try to justify it, but instead I took a deep breath, got down to my children's level, and simply said, I'm sorry. I was overwhelmed. That wasn't fair to you. Can we talk about this? And the look on their face, it wasn't disappointment. It was relief. They saw that even grown-ups have hard moments, and that is okay. That we can repair, not just pretend. Being human teaches our kids that emotions are part of the deal. That love doesn't disappear when things get messy. That strength isn't the absence of vulnerability. It's us embracing it. So no, they don't need me to be perfect. They need me to be real. And when I show up that way, I'm not just mothering them, I'm modeling life for them. Lesson number 6, time is a real currency. When my son was little, and let me start by saying that this lesson hits different the older my kids get. But when my son, my oldest, was little, people would say, the days are long, but the years are short. And I nodded politely, but it didn't really sink in. I was too tired, too busy, too focused on bedtime routines, packing lunches, and getting through the day. But now, with one child in high school and another still in that magical, curious stage, I feel it in my bones. Time is flying, and there's no way to slow it down. What I've learned is that time, not stuff, not status, not striving, it's the most valuable gift we can give to our kids. It's not about big vacations or elaborate experiences, although we love those. Personally, in our family, we love big vacations, not because of the vacation itself, but because it's a time that we get to spend together and treasure memories together. This is about showing up, being there. It's about the 15-minute check in before bed, is the silly dance in the kitchen, is the ride to school where they suddenly open up. It's those in between moments that become the most meaningful memories. And the truth is, we don't always realize the impact of our presence in real time. Sometimes it's years later when they say, remember when you used to, and it's something you almost forgot. A walk, a story, a joke you told every Thursday, whatever it is. That has taught me this. How we spend our time is how we show our love. And that means being intentional. Sometimes it means putting the phone down, saying no to another commitment, or just slowing down enough to say, yes, I have time for that game or that story or that question, because one day they'll grow up and will wish for just one more ordinary Tuesday together. So this lesson is a reminder for you and for me, honestly, that we don't have to do it all, but we do get to be here. And that's more than enough. And I see that, as I said, especially with my oldest, because he has 2 more years before he goes to college. And I'm starting to realize that we have 2 summer vacations together. We only have 2 spring breaks left. But beyond those big chunks of time that we get to do fun things and do them together, there's very little more opportunities that I have to spend quality time with him. And I want to treasure as many memories together as I possibly can. For him, for me, for our entire family, for years to come. Lesson number 7. Your voice becomes their inner voice. Okay, this lesson hit me when one day I heard my daughter whisper to herself, "You've got this. Just breathe, one step at a time." And I laugh. I have to laugh because it was something I've said to her for years before going to a test at school or a musical event recently this year, before anything that felt big and overwhelming. And in that moment, I realized they're listening, even when it seems that they're not. The things that we say again and again in passing or in pressure, in love or in frustration, over time, they settle deep. Our words start to shape the story our kids tell themselves about who they are and what they're capable of and how safe the world feels. When we speak with kindness, and then kindness becomes their self-compassion. When we encourage effort over perfection, that becomes the soundtrack they hear when they mess up. When we say, "I believe in you," that becomes the anchor they learn when doubt creeps in. But the opposite is also true. When we criticize harshly, when we rush, when we default to "what's wrong with you" instead of "what's going on," that boy can echo too. And I've been there too as well, right? I've said those things and I unintentionally planted those seeds on my kids. And that's not to shame us, it's to remind us of the power that we hold as parents. Because we're human, we mess up. I know I have. But what matters is how often we come back to center and repair. What I've learned is that your voice today becomes their voice tomorrow. So I try imperfectly, but intentionally, to make sure that voice is patient, encouraging, grounding, and loving. Because one day, when they're out in the world facing hard things, I want my voice to be the one in their corner, not the one that they have to recover from. So speak gently, apologize when needed, cheer loudly, and remember, they're just hearing you. They're becoming in part because of you. Lesson number 8, you're raising adults, not children. This was a mindset shift that completely changed how I parent. When our kids are little, it's easy to focus on managing the chaos of the day-to-day, the snacks, the routines, the school pickups, the screen time battles, the bedtime stories. But at some point, it hits you. Maybe when they start asking deeper questions or navigating friendship dramas, or when you glimpse the teenager they're becoming. This isn't just about raising a child. It's about parenting a human to walk through life without you next to them one day. You're raising someone's future colleague, friend, partner, neighbor, maybe even someone's boss or parent someday. That means it's not just about getting them to behave, it's about helping them build character and values and resilience and the ability to think for themselves. I remind myself often that I'm not raising someone who will always be 8 or 16. I'm raising a future adult who will face real life decisions, challenges, relationships. So the question becomes, how can I equip them? Can I let them make mistakes while the stakes are still low? Can I give them space to solve their own problems even when I want to snoop in? Can I model emotional regulation so they know what it looks like in adulthood? Can I teach them to be kind and self-aware and responsible, not just compliant? And here's the tricky part. Raising adults means giving up control earlier than feels comfortable. It means inviting their opinions. It means not having the last word all the time. It means showing them how to be accountable, not just obedient. Because the goal isn't to raise a child who always listens to you. The goal is to raise an adult who knows how to listen to themselves, to their intuition, to their values, to their sense of what's right. And when you start parenting with that in mind, even the everyday moments feel different. You stop micromanaging and you start mentoring. You shift from control to connection. You become less focused on the moment and more intentional about the legacy that you're building through them. Because childhood is temporary. Adulthood is a destination. This is one I'm still working on. But now being the mom of a teenager had made me realize and learn this lesson. And it's something that I'm trying to be more and more intentional every single day. Okay, we're almost there. Lesson number 9, motherhood is a mirror. No one holds up a mirror to your soul quite like your children do. Motherhood reveals the part of you that you've outgrown, the ones that you're proud of, and the ones that are still in progress. It brings to the surface your strengths, but also your triggers, your patience and your pressure, your joy and your judgment. There have been so many times, especially during the hard days, where I found myself saying something to my kids and thinking, what did that even come from? And the truth is, it came from me, from my own wounds, from something I was taught, from a fear I hadn't named yet, from a version of myself that hasn't healed. Motherhood forces you to look inwards because you quickly realize you're not just raising them, you're also raising yourself. They push you to grow, to pause before reacting, to unpack beliefs you inherited without questioning, and to confront the stories that you've been carrying about what it means to be enough. They stretch your capacity to love, your capacity for forgiveness, for starting again after losing your cool, and for showing up even when you feel empty. Motherhood reflects who you are being, not just what you're doing. It shows you what you value by what you prioritize. It shows you what you still need healing by showing up as triggers. It shows you your growth in a way that you respond differently than you used to. And perhaps most beautifully, it reflects back the love you pour in, even when you think they don't notice. So yes, motherhood is a mirror. And while it's not always easy to look into that mirror, it's also one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and self-awareness. You start to parent yourself with more compassion. You realize that becoming their guide, you're also becoming a more whole version of yourself. And maybe that's the real gift of motherhood. Not just that you're shaping, but you're becoming also in the process. And last but not least, love doesn't need to be earned. Lesson number 10. This is one of the most powerful lessons that motherhood has taught me. Not just about how I love my children, but also how I had to relearn how to love myself. From the moment each of my children came into the world, I loved them fully, instantly. Not because they had accomplished anything, not because they were good or easy or did something to deserve it. I love them because they existed, because they were mine, because they were them. And yet, if I'm being honest, I didn't always offer myself the same unconditional love. So many of us grew up with the idea, spoken or unspoken, that love has to be earned, that it came from how you perform, how you please, how you succeed. We internalized the belief that love was conditional, that it could be taken away if we disappointed or failed or messed up. But raising children teaches me how untrue that is. Because the love I have for my kids doesn't fluctuate with their grades, with their behaviors, or whether they say please or not today. I love them when they are thriving and when they're struggling. I love them in the joy and I love them in the meltdowns. I love them when they're easy to parent and also when they're not. And if that's true for how I love them, why wouldn't it be true for how I love me? This lesson has shifted how I show up in motherhood and in my own healing as an adult. It helped me model to my kids that their worth isn't tied to how they perform or how they please, that they're already enough, that mistakes don't cancel love, that they can mess up and still be safe, still be loved, and still be seen. And it's challenged me to extend that same grace to myself, to remember that I don't have to earn rest. I don't have to prove my value through productivity. I don't have to be a perfect mom to be a loving one. I don't have to get it all right to be worthy of love. So if I leave you with anything this Mother's Day, is this: love isn't a transaction. It's the truth. And when you start living like it doesn't have to be earned, you free yourself and your children to feel it fully. If you are a mom, I hope that you know how much you matter. Not for how much you do, but for who you are. If you're celebrating this month of May, Mother's Day, whenever it is that you're celebrating it, soak it in. If you're grieving, I'm holding space for you. If this day is complex, that's okay too. And to every woman listening today, whether you're a mom by birth, by choice, by spirit, or through community, the way you show up with care and courage matters deeply. You're raising the future and you're doing better than you think. So I want to wish you all happy Mother's Day, not only today, but every day, because being a mom is a never-ending job. Doesn't matter how little or how old your kids are, they will always be your kids, and you will always be their mom, and you will always be in this journey of becoming the mom that they need at every stage of their life, because that will change too. The mom they needed you to be when they were 3 is very different than when they're 10 or 16 or when they're 30. If this episode resonated with you, do me a favor. Share it with a fellow mom or someone who has made a difference in your life. And if you are in a journey of rediscovering yourself in motherhood, in your career, in your own personal life, you're not alone. I'm here cheering on every step of your way. Until next time, have an amazing week, and I'll see you here for the next episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. Okay, my friend, that's all I've got for you today. But before you go, 2 quick reminders. Number 1, if we're not already friends on Instagram, let's get connected. You can find me as Leading Yourself Podcast. Number 2, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am incredibly grateful that you're in this journey with me. I want to leave you with one last thought. I want to remind you that you're destined for more and that every step that you take brings you closer to becoming that best version of yourself. Embrace each day as a chance to learn, grow, and chase your dreams. The world needs you to shine brightly, so go out and show up fully and authentically. Take care, and I'll see you next time.